My name is Amila, I'm 27 years old, and I work at a small interior design firm in Seattle. My job is busy, but I love it. It's one of the few things in my life I get to choose for myself. The rest, well, I barely have a voice in my own family. I have an older sister named Melissa, 4 years older than me. She's married and has 3 sons. Triplets, all 6 years old. Melissa is the kind of person who makes the whole world revolve around her, and for some reason, my parents think that's perfectly reasonable. As for me, I'm always the backup plan. Babysit when I'm free, babysit when I'm tired, and even when I'm trying to enjoy myself, I somehow end up back on aunt duty. Last year we had a family vacation at the Oregon coast, a trip I had really looked forward to. I had requested time off work early, excited to take walks on the beach, check out seaside coffee shops, and especially visit an art exhibit I had missed for years. My mom said she'd booked the hotel for the whole family, and that this time I'd actually get to relax. Sounds great, right? But when we got there, I found out I'd be sharing a room with the 3 boys, while Melissa and her husband had their own suite with an ocean view balcony. I barely had time to react before my mom handed me the key and smiled. "The boys love you, Julia. They won't be any trouble." No trouble. That first night, one cried over a missing teddy bear. Another ran circles looking for the TV remote, and the third asked me 5 times if he could have snacks. At midnight, I was exhausted and barely slept. I lay awake in a pitch-dark room, listening to heavy breathing and little snores, wishing I could vanish the next morning. I tried to get just 1 hour to visit the exhibit, the one thing I truly wanted to do on this trip. And as I finished getting dressed, Melissa texted me, "Where are you going?" "Josh is about to head out. Can you watch the kids for a bit?" That bit turned into nearly 3 hours. When I spoke to my mom about it, she gently said, "You're staying for free, sweetie. It's only fair you help out a little." I wanted to scream free. I wasn't mooching off anyone. I have a job, I'm independent. I paid for my own bus ticket and I took PTO just to be here. But every time I tried to push back, I was met with disapproving stares. I felt like a stranger in my own family. That entire trip, I only made it to the beach once, while Melissa posted daily photos from spas, cafes, even a foot massage place, and me. I spent most of my time cleaning up cookie crumbs, changing the kids' clothes, and answering an endless stream of Aunt Julia. I didn't say much back then. I just packed my things in silence, and when the trip ended, I promised myself there would be no second time. But I was wrong this year. Another family trip is coming, and my parents are already planning. Like everything will go the same as before. No one asked me anything, they just sent the itinerary and a message. Summer trip, we're all going together. Just like every year, I looked at the message in the family group chat, my hands trembling. Did they really think I'd step right back into that babysitter? Aunt role, I started typing a response. This time I wasn't staying quiet. As I stared at a message from my mom on my screen. "This year's trip will be so much fun. Julia, you're riding with us again." "Right. I've booked 2 rooms, one for the kids, one for us." I took a deep breath and replied, "Thanks, Mom, but this year I'll be driving myself. I've already booked my own room." Less than 3 minutes later, my phone rang. It was Mom. "Julia, what are you saying? Why book your own room?" "I've already arranged everything. Mom, I want my own space. Last year I barely had a minute to myself. I need a real vacation." There was a beat of silence, then her voice dropped, tinged with disappointment. "But that means you're separating from the family. Melissa will have to handle the kids on her own. And who will help when she needs a break?" "I'm not the nanny, Mom," I said calmly, but firmly. "I work, I earn my own money. I'm an adult, and this time I'm not repeating last year's mistake." That night, Melissa sent me a long emotional text. She said she was overwhelmed, tired, and felt betrayed that I wasn't stepping up like before. She reminded me that I'm still single with no kids, so helping out is the least I could do. I didn't reply right away. I needed to think to not act out of anger. But when I read the part where she wrote, I just wanted us all to have a fun family vacation. And now you're acting like you've been deeply wronged. I put my phone down and felt something inside me snap. A few days later, Dad called. He wasn't angry, just concerned. Are you really planning to go separately? Yes, Dad. I booked a nearby hotel but a private room. I'll join the group activities, but the rest I want to decide for myself. Melissa's really upset, you know. I used to be upset too, Dad, really upset. But no one seemed to notice. I thought he might try to convince me, but he just sighed. I get it 3 days later. Melissa sent a message in the group chat. Impossible to misread, have your personal vacation, Julia. But don't expect the family to be happy if you skip everything. Just because you want freedom. You don't get to do that. I didn't reply. But I added an extra layer of privacy protection to my hotel booking. I mapped out my entire schedule. A coastal craft workshop, a sunrise hike, and, of course, an afternoon at my favorite gallery. This trip wasn't going to be about babysitting or swallowing my frustration. I had spent my entire 20s trying to please others, keeping things smooth while my own needs were constantly pushed aside. This time I was going to be heard. The night before departure, MOM sent a final message. We'll wait for you at the rest stop as planned. Even if you're not riding with us, I hope you'll still come. I read it in silence. I don't hate them, I just refuse to keep playing the role. That's been draining me for years. At dawn I left early. The air was cool and fresh. My suitcase sat neatly in the back seat. My favorite playlist played softly. I smiled for the first time. I was heading somewhere for me, not for anyone else. And this vacation, no matter what happens, I won't let anyone push me back into a supporting role. This is my trip and I'll live every moment of it. I had just checked into the hotel when my phone rang. I didn't need to look to know who it was. I took a deep breath and answered. Where are you? Melissa's voice cut through the speaker. Cold as steel, I just checked in. I said, trying to stay calm. Private room, like I told you. Private room, she laughed. A sharp, joyless laugh. Julia, are you seriously doing this? Turning our family vacation into your own personal getaway? Number. I'm still joining the group stuff. I said slowly, but I also have the right to rest in my own way. I can't believe this, Melissa snapped. I'm juggling 3 kids. Josh is constantly on work calls. And Mom and Dad aren't getting any younger. Who do you think is going to help me if you just disappear like this? I closed my eyes, studying myself. Melissa, I'm not disappearing. I'm just not going to be an unpaid helper like last year. I'm not 19 anymore, but you're still single. No kids, no real responsibilities except yourself. My sister's voice started to take on a sharp, accusing tone. You have so much free time. Julia and me, I just need a little help. Just a little, is that really too much? I gripped the phone tighter. I'm not your backup plan for burnout. I have a job, a life. I need rest too, Melissa. There was a pause on the other end. Then Melissa started crying. I'm exhausted, Julia. I haven't had a single night of decent sleep. You're free, relaxed, and I'm stuck in this endless cycle of fatigue. And you can't sacrifice even a little to help me. My heart sank, but I didn't back down. You chose motherhood, I respect that. But you can't expect me to sacrifice my life just because you're unhappy with the one you chose. So it's all about you now. No, it's about knowing my limits. I said clearly, and I've learned that if I don't protect them, no one else will. The call ended in silence. I set the phone down, my heart still racing with emotion. I knew Melissa would tell Mom, and I knew the storm wasn't over yet. Sure enough, an hour later, Mom called. She wasn't yelling, but her voice was full of disappointment. Julia, what are you doing? Melissa is really hurt. Couldn't you be a little more flexible, Mom? I said slowly. Last year I was as flexible as I could be. I gave up my time, my energy, my freedom. I didn't even sleep properly. And through it all, you never once asked if I was okay. You only asked if I could help Melissa. She was silent. I loved this family. But I'm tired of being the one everyone overlooks. If you only see me as a temporary fix for other people's problems, then I don't want that vacation. Mom sighed. You've changed, Julia. I've grown up, Mom. I didn't know if they truly understood or just felt like I was rebelling. But I knew one thing for sure. This was the first time I hadn't backed down under family pressure. And whatever came next, I was no longer the person who said yes just to keep the peace. That night, I took a walk alone along the beach. The sunset lit up the sky in gold. The ocean breeze ran through my hair, and I felt a strange, peaceful clarity. I realized I might be upsetting people, but for the first time, I wasn't betraying myself. I had never thought I'd post anything personal online, especially not about my family. But after the call with Mom and Melissa's passive-aggressive texts, I felt suffocated. I needed to say something. Not to vent. To clear my mind, so I created an anonymous Reddit account. Went to a casual life stories subreddit and wrote. I shared about last year's vacation, how I had to sleep with 3 kids while my sister got her own room. I explained how my family assumed I was available just because I wasn't married or a mom. I kept details vague, no names, no locations at the end. I asked, am I wrong for wanting a real vacation for myself? I didn't expect it to blow up, but within hours there were hundreds of comments and most supported me. Some said I was too patient. Others said I should have drawn the line long ago. Many shared similar stories where self-sacrifice was treated like duty, and independence was seen as selfishness. I read every comment feeling both relieved and sad. Relieved that I wasn't alone, and sad that so many of us had been pushed into side roles in our own lives. Then the thing I never expected happened. Melissa saw the post. She called me at 6 a.m. And the next morning while I was having coffee on my hotel balcony, watching the sunrise. Did you write that? She demanded. Her voice sharp. I stayed calm. You recognized it was me. How could I not? You think you're anonymous. You described everything in detail. Who wouldn't know it was about me? I didn't name anyone, but you made me a joke in front of thousands. Do you know how many people are calling me selfish now? I didn't make anyone say anything, Melissa. I said they're reacting to what they read. And what I wrote was the truth. There was a beat of silence. Then she started crying, not with hurt this time, but with fury. You destroyed my image, Julia. You humiliated me in front of the entire world. I didn't answer because what she cared about was image, not truth for her. It was always about how things looked, never how people felt. 3 hours later, I got a message from Mom. Did you really do that? You posted about our family online. I typed back, yes, Mom. Because if I didn't speak up, no one would have listened. At first she was angry. She said I was ungrateful and that I hurt my sister. But then she started reading not just the post, the comments too, the words from strangers. Clear, fair, unbiased. By that evening she called again, her voice softer. I didn't think people would see it that way. I thought you were exaggerating. How many times have I exaggerated, Mom? I asked, but no one listened until someone else said it. After that call, I didn't hear from Melissa again. But Dad called. He kept it brief. Your mom and I just talked to your sister. We all need to have a proper conversation. But I want you to know I'm sorry I didn't see it sooner. About everything. I was stunned. I couldn't remember the last time I'd heard Dad say sorry. That night I got a message from someone unexpected. Josh, Melissa's husband. I'm sorry for letting you be taken advantage of. And talking to Melissa, I think she needs to change. For the first time in years, I felt like someone in the family actually had my back. Not out of obligation, not for the sake of peace, but because they saw the truth. 2 days after my post went viral, Mom called again with a short, heavy message. Julia, the vacation's cancelled. I froze. Not out of shock, just an unexpected wave of emotion. Part of me felt relief, another part felt sadness. I had longed for a vacation for myself after so much sacrifice. But instead of getting that freedom, I ended up paying for the truth being exposed too quickly. Too loudly since your post. Melissa hasn't really spoken to anyone, Mum sighed. Josh got so upset he left to stay with his parents in Olympia. Your dad and I, we need time to reflect. That one sentence told me everything had escalated more than I imagined. That evening I received a message from Josh. I'd like to meet in person. Just you and me, not through Melissa. Not through your parents. We met at a quiet cafe not far from my hotel. Josh arrived on time looking tired, but his eyes were clear. None of the awkward avoidance I used to see at family dinners. Thank you for being brave enough to speak up, he said as soon as he sat down. I knew Melissa had control issues, but I didn't realize she was. I didn't even need to ask. I knew he meant about the money. I don't blame you, I said. But it's hard to believe you didn't notice. Josh shook his head. She told me she'd given you money. Even described it in detail, cash in an envelope left on the kitchen counter. Every time I asked, she had a reason. I gave a dry laugh if there was an envelope. It must have been meant for someone else. I checked the bank statements and asked Melissa directly. She admitted she only gave you money for pizza a couple of times. The rest she kept. I nodded. No longer angry, just deeply disappointed. I love Melissa, Julia. But I won't let her walk all over you just because you speak up less. I looked him straight in the eyes. So what are you going to do? Make her apologize properly and pay you back everything she owes. I didn't answer right away. My mother's words echoed in my mind. In a family, we have to be the one who bends. But what I was doing wasn't because I didn't love my family. It was because I finally chose to love myself. The next morning, Melissa showed up at my hotel. Her eyes were red and she was holding an envelope. Josh stood behind her, arms crossed. I'm sorry, she said. Voice so soft it was barely audible. For taking advantage of your kindness. For lying. And for turning a family vacation into a stage to control you. I stayed silent. She handed me the envelope. This is the money I owe you. Every cent. Josh made me recalculate all of it. I didn't open it, I just looked at her and asked. Do you think things can ever go back to the way they were? She shook her head no, and I think maybe that's a good thing. I felt the corners of my mouth lift slightly, unsure if it was a smile or something more bittersweet. I need help, Melissa added. Josh asked me to start seeing a therapist. I agreed, but I'm not sure I can fix everything. I responded slowly, you don't have to fix everything in one day. But if you can start by respecting other people, especially the quiet ones, that's already more than enough. Melissa nodded, and for the first time, she didn't look like the powerful older sister. She looked like a woman trying to find herself again after a long chain of mistakes. And the vacation, though it didn't go as planned, gave me more than any beach party or sunset ever could. It gave me clarity. It gave Melissa a mirror. And it gave my whole family a chance to change. Or, at the very least, to begin learning how. 3 weeks after the first vacation was cancelled, I got a call from Dad. He didn't say much. Just gently offered, Julia, your mom and I would like to take you out to dinner. Your favorite restaurant, The Pines. This Saturday. I hesitated for a second, then nodded even though they couldn't see me. Maybe after everything we all needed a dinner with no arguing, no blame, just a fresh start. That evening when I walked into the restaurant, my mom stood up first and pulled out a chair for me. That had never happened before. Dad smiled awkward, like a small-town teacher who just fumbled his lecture. We're sorry, Mom said, even before the appetizers arrived, for minimizing your feelings, for giving you burdens that were never yours to carry. I looked at her, and for the first time she seemed smaller. Not in stature, but in the way she spoke from the heart. not from her role as the adult in the family. We're planning another trip. Dad added, this time you can travel separately. Stay separately and join only the things you want to. No one will ask you to babysit. We promise. I asked, what about Melissa? Mom glanced at Dad, then said, she's in counseling. Josh convinced her. And honestly, she's beginning to realize she needs to change. I didn't respond right away. I thought of all the years I had compromised, shouldered responsibilities that weren't mine. Part of me still feared all these promises would disappear like morning fog, but another part of me wanted to try believing again. All right, I nodded. I'll go, but I'm driving myself, booking my own room, and if anyone tries to put me back in the aunt babysitter role, I'll leave no warning. We understand, Dad said, and Mom gave a small, quiet nod. A week later, the family group chat came back to life with a new name, Beach Trip Reset version. Everyone tried to keep things light. Even Melissa only sent smiley emojis, no directions or demands like before. I quietly booked a hotel half a mile from the main place. Close enough for dinners, but far enough to have my own space. On the morning of departure, I woke early, made coffee, packed the car, and left the city before sunrise. No one called to rush me, no texts from Mom asking, are you on your way? No reminders from Melissa for the first time. I felt like a true adult in my own family. When I arrived, I checked in and asked the front desk not to share my room information with anyone except law enforcement in case of emergency. The receptionist smiled kindly. A lot of guests do that. You're good. I smiled back. I had learned that setting boundaries isn't defiance. It's self-respect. That afternoon, we met at a seafood restaurant by the beach. Everyone was there. Melissa showed up with Josh and the boys. For the first time, she brought a hired nanny. A young woman named Ava, cheerful, energetic, and clearly professional. Thank you for coming, Melissa said. With no strings attached, I nodded. Maybe, just maybe, something really had changed throughout the evening. No one mentioned last year. No one asked me to take the kids to the bathroom or help feed them. I sat next to Dad and told him about a design project I was doing for a boutique hotel. He listened attentively, like what I said finally mattered, as much as anything Melissa had ever said. When dinner ended, I quietly returned to my hotel. No one followed me, no one held me back. And when I opened my room door, I felt something I'd dreamed of for years. True peace on day 2 of the trip. I woke up in my quiet hotel room, soft sunlight filtering through the curtains. I made coffee, turned on some light music, and sat on the balcony with a book I just bought. For the first time in years, my vacation didn't begin with someone yelling my name down a hallway, or kids pounding on my door. Everything was still after the hotel's breakfast buffet. I got a text from Mum, we're heading to the seaside park this afternoon. Wanna join? I replied simply. I'll come by later if I finish up on my end. No promises, no pressure. Most importantly, no guilt. Around 10 a.m. I visited a local art gallery I'd wanted to see since last year. I wandered through the paintings, studying each brushstroke, and for the first time I felt this vacation truly belonged to me. Just as I was leaving the gallery and planning to grab coffee by the beach, my phone buzzed. It was Ava, the nanny Melissa had hired. Hi Julia, I'm sorry to call, but Melissa asked me to see if you could watch the boys for about 15 minutes. She said it's urgent. I didn't answer right away. A chill ran down my spine. I took a deep breath, steadying myself. Eva, I think you're great, I said slowly, but I'm not the babysitter. If Melissa has something urgent, she should have planned ahead or made other arrangements. Yes, I understand. I'm just doing what she told me to. That's okay. You're doing your job, thanks for calling. I hung up, then immediately texted Josh. Your sister's trying to pass the kids off to me again. This time through Ava. 2 minutes later, Josh called. His voice couldn't hide his frustration. Thank you for telling me, I'll take care of it. That afternoon, when I showed up a little late to the seaside park, The energy had shifted. Melissa didn't look at me. And Josh was off playing soccer with the boys. Mum came over holding a lemonade and said quietly, "We heard about what happened earlier. I'm sorry." Melissa should have known better. I simply nodded. I wasn't here to keep arguing. I was here to live true to myself. While the family rested under the shade of the trees, Melissa finally spoke up. No sarcasm, no complaints. Just a simple sentence: "Thank you for not making a scene earlier." I looked at her calm and steady. I don't need to raise my voice for someone to realize what shouldn't be done. I've said enough. Josh nodded silently. A quiet confirmation. And from that moment on, no one brought up just a few minutes of help again. The following days passed peacefully. I took walks alone, visited seaside cafes, and even befriended a local artist who invited me to join her outdoor painting session. When the family had group activities, dinners, the aquarium visit, or a beach barbecue, I joined on my terms. Enjoyable, never forced. I wasn't avoiding them, but I also wasn't allowing myself to be pulled back into an old role. On the final day of our vacation, the whole family gathered on the beach, the sunset casting golden light over the waves. Melissa sat next to me for the first time, not glued to her phone or chasing after the kids. "You've really changed," she said softly. And I think I'm starting to learn to accept that. I smiled without saying anything, because I knew that real change doesn't come from promises. It comes from saying no firmly, even when it's misunderstood. This vacation wasn't perfect, but it was the first time I felt truly free around my family. Not because they completely changed, but because I did first and I held my boundaries. After the trip, I returned to my design studio and my usual rhythm. Everything slipped back into routine, but deep down I knew something had changed for good. Not just for me, but for my family too. One weekday afternoon, while organizing drafts for a hotel project, I got a short email from Josh titled "Update on Melissa." I opened it, not expecting what I read in the first few lines. "I took Melissa to her first therapy session this morning. It wasn't easy, but she didn't react like she used to. She listened." Josh shared that the therapist had something that left both him and Melissa speechless. Being a mother doesn't mean losing your personhood, but it also doesn't give you the right to make others carry your responsibilities. According to Josh, Melissa cried through half the session when she realized how she used motherhood as a reason to control those around her, especially me at the end. Josh wrote, "I'm sorry it got this far, but thank you if you hadn't stood your ground." Melissa might never have looked at herself. I didn't reply right away, not out of coldness or anger. I just needed a quiet moment to feel something rare. Growth from the very person who used to make me feel invisible. 2 weeks later, Melissa texted me to ask if I'd have lunch with her. I was hesitant at first, but I agreed. We met at a small cafe near the park where she used to take the kids. No children. No interruptions. She arrived on time for the first time in years with no requests. No complaints. "I've been to 4 sessions so far," Melissa began, "and each time I realize I've never really listened to anyone. Not Josh, not Mom and Dad. And especially not you." I let her speak. I think being the oldest and growing up as the only adult in the house, for a while I got used to thinking everything should revolve around me. When I had kids, I panicked, and instead of asking for help the right way, I just expected it, especially from you. I nodded lightly. I understand, but understanding doesn't mean accepting. And you shouldn't have accepted it, Melissa said firmly, then gave a sad smile. Josh hired a full-time nanny last week. Ava will help with school runs and teach the kids basic life skills. I'm not asking for your help anymore. I just hope one day you'll see that I'm changing. I looked at her for a long time. I saw the tiredness, but none of the old pride. Instead, there was something real. Humility, the clarity that comes after being overwhelmed for too long. From that day on, things started flowing in a new direction. Slowly but steadily, Mom called me weekly, but always began with, "Are you free?" Not, "Can you help me with something?" Dad started sending me pictures of the garden bench he built himself, instead of asking me to do it for him. As for Melissa, she was still relearning how to be just a sister, not a commander. Sometimes the old instincts came back. But I knew how to hold the line now, and she was learning to stop before crossing it. I kept the healthy distance, not to stay away, but because I was rebuilding a bridge. One with stronger supports, clearer boundaries, but wide enough for both sides to meet if we both chose to walk across. When fall arrived, I received a handwritten card from Melissa, just one sentence written in the familiar, rounded handwriting I remembered from high school. "Thank you for not staying silent forever." I held the card for a long time. Not because I was overwhelmed, but because I knew this wasn't the end of the story. But at least from now on, I wouldn't be the only one listening without being heard. And that for me was a beautiful beginning to any kind of change. About a month after coming back from vacation, I got an unexpected message on Instagram. It was from Emily, the woman who worked at the little bookstore on the corner, where I often spent my weekends. "Hi Julia. I don't know if it's coincidence or fate, but I read that Reddit post and I knew it was you." My heart skipped a beat, not from shame, but because I never expected someone from my real life to connect with a story that began with frustration and ended with self-respect. Emily had always caught my attention, not because she was flashy, but because of the way she patiently introduced each book with a gentle smile, always kind. Never superficial, like someone who could see right through people without needing many words. I replied, "I guess that post traveled further than I thought." She messaged back almost instantly. "It did, because it was real. And because so many people have been Julia in their own families, but never found the words." We made plans to meet the following weekend at an outdoor art exhibit downtown. Nothing formal, just two people walking side by side, talking about art, books, and the boundaries everyone should learn to set. Early on, I didn't tell Emily how many sleepless nights I'd spent because of a careless comment from someone in my family, but I did share how I once learned to stay silent, and how I finally had to relearn how to speak up. She listened without judgment and said one thing I'll never forget. "You're not selfish, Julia. You're just loving yourself, and there's nothing wrong with that." That's how my relationship with Emily began, slowly. No pressure, no rush, no need to heal each other, just presence, listening, and mutual respect. As for my family, things are moving in the right direction. In their own way, Melissa continues therapy. Our conversations are no longer tense. One time she even sent me photos of watercolor paintings she did in an art class. Instead of controlling, I'm learning to let go. Josh is more involved with the kids now. Every weekend he takes them out on his own, giving Melissa time to breathe or just be herself for a bit. My parents, they've learned something powerful from my long silence. They don't send messages saying, "Can you help anymore?" Instead they say, "If you'd like to join us for dinner, we'd be happy to see you." It may seem small, but to me, it's a whole new way of breathing in a relationship that used to suffocate me. I still keep my own room whenever I visit. I still say no when I'm tired. And I still choose peace over pleasing everyone. One early autumn night, Emily leaned against my shoulder on the wooden bench in my backyard, the porch lights casting a soft glow around us. She turned and asked, "Do you think your family really gets it now?" I smiled and squeezed her hand. They don't have to understand everything as long as they respect it. And this time I think they finally do. My story isn't a miracle. There's no dramatic transformation, no tearful finale where everything's fixed. But it's a real journey where I learned to stand my ground. And learned how to love others by first being kind to myself. And if someone asked me what changed the deeply rooted family dynamic after all those years, I'd simply say I stopped saying yes to things that broke me. And I started living like I was worth it. My story isn't just about reclaiming the right to rest. It's a reminder that prolonged silence can become a burden. I used to be the easy one in the family, until I learned that love shouldn't come with unconditional sacrifice. Today I have my own life, a healthy relationship, and a family that's slowly learning to love without control. I'm no longer the free babysitter. I'm myself, whole and independent. What do you think about Julia's journey? Was she too firm, or did she finally do the right thing to protect herself? Share your thoughts below, and don't forget to follow the channel for more powerful stories about family and personal boundaries.